everyone. Welcome in. We got our second podcast today with me and my grandpa Keith. We're tuning in ahead of a huge MLS Cup Final on Saturday as the Vancouver Whitecaps take on the defending Leagues Cup champions, Inter Miami. And we got a huge matchup ahead of us. Vancouver will be traveling down to Miami this weekend. Kickoff is set for 11:30 p.m. Pacific time and 2:30 Eastern time. So how are you feeling ahead of the matchup this weekend? Are you excited?
Excitement is not the word. Since the conference finals last weekend, last Saturday, it's been on my mind 90% of the time.
Yeah, I bet.
The game. I'm sure it's been with you too. It's just a dream to be there. We've had a super good season, and I really feel we've got the two best teams playing on Saturday for the Cup final.
Yeah, I agree. It really feels like the best possible matchup we could have had out of all the teams. Looking back to even when the playoffs started, most people predicted Vancouver, Miami in the final. That's what MLS fans wanted. That's what the pundits said. And
Sure.
that's what we have here. And it just feels like both teams deserve to be here. And yeah, it's been an unreal season. Vancouver have made so many changes, bringing in the new coach and players stepping up and injuries and everything, and it feels like everything's kind of culminated to this moment. And then you look across on the other side of the table in the Eastern Conference, and you have Miami, who's had an unreal season. They've played pretty well, but they haven't done as good as they have lately. Like earlier in the season, they weren't looking as good, but with their new additions to the team, they're looking really dangerous, and this is going to be a hell of a game. Yeah, so we got a huge matchup, and I just want to touch on the favorites here. Which team do you think has the advantage going into the game?
This is a difficult question, I think. Which team has the advantage? Because both teams have been on winning streaks during the playoffs, and Miami is playing at home, but you think that would be an advantage, but yet it isn't in the sense they're playing the Whitecaps. The
Mm-hmm.
Whitecaps have always proven during the season, if not the best team on the road. They're going to have 21,500 fans approximately at their stadium. I think we're going to have at least that many, maybe more, watching in BC Place. That's the irony of it all.
Mm-hmm.
That we're going to have a bigger crowd possibly watching the Whitecaps on the Jumbotron at BC Place. We're part of that. We're going to the game ourselves with some other folks. And so, how much of an advantage is that? I would say very little. They are strong at home. They do win most of their games at home. But, we can talk about the team's different strengths here. Um, um, the fact is, Miami, to start with, this is the last game they'll be playing with the Barcelona trio there. Messi, Jordi Alba, and Sergio Busquets. It's their last game together. So they're going to be fired up. There's no
Yeah.
question. They all want to win that game badly because Alba and Busquets are retiring after this game. So
Mm-hmm.
they have a lot of motivation to win this game, and the Whitecaps also have a lot of motivation to win the game.
Yeah.
They have never been to a final before. This is the best season they've ever had. What glory will they have if they can shut down what is a very good team, and then they're shutting down can still considered the GOAT, the best player in the world, in Messi.
Mm-hmm.
We have we have we have some excellent defenders, and we're talking about um, uh, putting Kubas on Messi, and if there's anybody that can shut him down in this league, it's Kubas.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have beaten them twice this year, 2-0 and 3-1 at home and away. But they are a stronger team now, right?
Mm-hmm.
They Or they have two new players who Paul Rodrigo, who have definitely improved the team defensively and more of a running team, and they're not depending so much on Messi. They're more of a they have a better defense. So advantages. We've got 22 players on the Whitecaps who've scored goals this season. We're not so dependent on a player or two or three players, and so it's going to be another epic. I think it's going to be another one that we'll always. I think it will be a game we'll always remember.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking at the Whitecaps' record away from home this season, they've only lost 4 matches all season playing away from home. So they are a good road team, no doubt about that. But Miami has looked increasingly dangerous at home, especially in the playoff matches. They've
Yeah.
scored 3 or more goals in their last 5 playoff games at home.
Mm-hmm.
So they are looking extremely dangerous. They just came off a thrashing of New York City in the Eastern Conference Final. They beat them 5-1. So it's looking good for them lately, but the Whitecaps are coming off a win over San Diego 3-1, where they played in San Diego on the road. So they're gaining some road momentum, and they looked quite dominant in that performance. So I just want to look back at that San Diego performance. Is there anything that you take away from that in that the Whitecaps can use to their advantage going into the game on Saturday?
Well, White was very impressive. Our top goal scorer this year. He scored 16 goals in the MLS and 6 goals in CONCACAF and Canadian Championship. But he missed a lot of playing time the last few weeks. But he came in and he was in the right place at the right time. It was the White we remember from the beginning of the year. So I think he will have some confidence going into the game, and we need that confidence. We need that his ability to be that goal scorer that he's capable of. We played the game that we know we've been playing all year, and high speed, high tempo, control the ball, high possession percentage, and our midfield. Kubas was again outstanding, and Berhalter in the midfield.
Yeah, what a performance they had.
So we've we just played the kind of game we need to play if we can against.
Yeah. I think the player to watch in this matchup for the Whitecaps is Andres Cubas. And he's coming off a huge performance from the Western Conference Final. He was integral in our win over San Diego. And he's going to be more important this week because his role is largely going to be to shut down Messi in that midfield. And I
Mhm.
have a feeling that's what Sorensen's told him going into this game is you're our guy. He's used to playing against Messi. He's played in the World Cup qualifiers in the CONMEBOL conference against Argentina. He's Paraguayan, and he's gone up against Messi quite a few times now, whether it be with the Whitecaps or with Paraguay. So he's used to this, and I think he'll be ready for the challenge. One thing to watch out for, too, is Messi has been getting quite agitated, I'd say, in these last few games with the referees and with the other players and stuff. So I
Mhm.
think it'll be important for the Whitecaps to keep cool heads and not overreact to Messi trying to bait them into yellow cards, red cards, arguments, stuff like that.
I think
Because
that's a good point.
yeah, that's how Miami like to play sometimes.
Yeah, they can be emotional and draw the opposite team's players into yellows when they can. And Messi has been very emotional the last few games.
Yeah, and for Miami going into this matchup, it's going to be important for them to try to stretch our players. They like to play into the spaces behind. So if our players get pulled out to the wings, if the Whitecaps players are having to run out and defend out there, it's going to leave a lot of space in behind and between the lines for Messi to pick out a pass, which he's done all season long. And you saw this take place in the Eastern Conference semifinal when Cincinnati played Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Cincinnati looked very leaky. They conceded 4 goals in that game, which was a bit of an embarrassment for the club, honestly. But they left way too much space in behind, and their lines were way too spread, and it allowed Messi to pass right through them. So if the Whitecaps want to be successful, they're going to have to be compact. They're going to have to defend as a unit, and they can't get isolated out on the wings.
This is so true what you say. We've seen a Messi. If he's not scoring a goal, he's making a wonderful pass to another player on his team. He's very good at exploiting those gaps in defense. And the other one who's very good at doing that is Busquets, of course, Sergio Busquets.
Mm-hmm.
He plays a very good game, and he's a star player. The long pass um, to his left or right, up the to a gap in defense is what he'll do if he can.
Yeah. Looking back into the spring months and the summer months, the Whitecaps played Miami over 2 legs, home and away, in the CONCACAF Champions Cup semifinal. One game in Vancouver, which we attended, and the Whitecaps won 2-0 in that game. And then they went on to play in Miami the following week and beat Miami 3-1. So they finished with a total aggregate score of 5, and it was a very dominant and impressive performance from Vancouver over both legs. Do you think that these matches have any influence on how the teams will set up going into this game? And do you think that the players or that the teams have changed quite a bit since then?
I don't think it'll affect too much the plan, the strategy for this game. I've heard that. Well, I know that Sorensen actually has stated on social media that it's a different team now. They've got these two new players, Borrego de Paul and Matteo Silvetti, who I mentioned earlier, who have strengthened the team. They're much better with their defensive play. So it's not the same team as it was when we beat 2-0. According to, they're a much stronger team. They do more running, and they're stronger in the midfield. We, the Whitecaps, they can totally forget about the two victories back a few months ago, and I think they'll have a different plan for this team, but they're adaptable. They've proven all year, the Whitecaps, they are adaptable both with injuries to their players and with whom they're playing. Um, they played in Mexico a couple of times during the CONCACAF tournament, beat some Pumas, some other good teams down there. So I think we have the best coach possible, and they will be best prepared for this game as they can be.
Yeah, I agree. I've listened to some of the press conferences this week, and the Whitecaps players, along with the coach, have said continuously that those 2 games don't matter to them, and that they're looking at Miami as a completely different team now, which they are. And yeah, like you said, Miami have brought in some good players over the summer window. Another player of mention is Baltazar Rodriguez, and you have Matteo Silvetti, and they both play on the wings now, going vertically up and down the channels. So that poses a whole new danger to the Whitecaps that they're going to have to defend. And Messi has runners now, whereas before he didn't really have any runners. He was relying on Suarez and whoever else was up there, Teo Allende, who's also quite a fast player himself. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a different threat. The Whitecaps are going to have a different game plan, and those games are not really applicable to this matchup. But it does give the Whitecaps some confidence in knowing that they can shut down Messi and they can quiet a Chase Stadium in a way MLS Cup Final.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And something else of note here is the 2 coaches. You have Jesper Sorensen and Mascherano, who have been with their teams all season. They've both been quite successful in their tactics, and Mascherano doesn't quite get the credit I think that he deserves because of Messi and the big name players that are at that club. Expectations are always going to be really high for that team, but I think he's done a good job over the course of the season of managing the players and picking and choosing when to use which players because of all the games and stuff and how their star players are quite a bit older. It's up to him to choose when to utilize them and when not to. And the big decision he's made as of the playoffs is to bench Luis Suarez from the start, which in turn gives Miami more of a vertical threat and more pace on the attack. So, do you agree with his decision there?
Oh, yes, yes, I do. You just look at the last few games where they've broken games wide open with their speed, and these new players have made a big difference. Suarez at times was a detriment to the team because of his temperament.
Mm-hmm.
He gets himself into hot water, and I mean he scores goals. Certainly, he's still a very good player, but overall, he's now he comes in as a sub, and I think that was an excellent decision by the coaching staff to go that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we've talked quite a bit about the players on each team, but if you could pick one or two players from each team, who do you think will decide this game?
Well, I mean I have to say Messi
Of
will
course.
be the Miami if he's going to if that team's going to win. He'll have to play an excellent game, but he's capable of doing that. He's shown that times in all his career. He's able to do that. For the Whitecaps, well, deciding the game. Kubas doesn't score goals, but if he has the game of his life, holding Messi, um, he's gonna be one of the stars. Whitecap, but we need goals, and Sabi has potential to score a goal or two in this game. I think he has speed and he has a great shot. So those are those are you know players that for me could make a difference.
Yeah, it's interesting because last game Ali Ahmed was largely our attacking threat going forward, but we've kind of seen all season long he doesn't have that end product with the goals, and it's quite rare that you do see him get on the score sheet. He did force an own goal in that San Diego match, but yeah, I think Brian White will be crucial to the Whitecaps scoring. And yeah, as you said, Sabi poses a huge threat because there's so many different ways that Ali and Sabi can attack you in your defense. They can cut in, they can go out. They're very deceptive as players, as individuals. So Miami's going to have a hard time defending them on the flanks. But Berhalter is also another game changer, and if he has a big game like he did in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, he scored 2 goals and he had man of the match in both legs against Miami. That large Berhalter's success largely comes down to how Kubas does, because if Kubas is able to shut down Messi and their attackers, that will give Berhalter the space and the warrant to go forward and attack with the team. So I think everything kind of revolves around Kubas and how much he allows them to attack and win the ball high up the pitch and play it quick and get some goals like we saw them do against San Diego.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with what you say, Ty. He is if he can press high up the pitch and take the balls away before Miami get going from their end, then that's a huge advantage for us.
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of people will frame this game as like Messi versus Muller. I
Yeah,
think people who are casual fans and don't watch the league very often, that's all they see. They're like, oh, the big superstars going head to head, World Cup winners, Champions League winners, and this is obviously a huge achievement for both players, and like, it's amazing to have them in the league. But I just think the Whitecaps are so much more than Mueller as a team. Like, they embody all the characteristics of a team that is together and connected and understand each other and respect each other. And it'll come down to all the players around Mueller. Mueller is the centerpiece that brings leadership and guidance and allows the players to find space because he creates space for them.
yeah,
But For Inter Miami, it's more the story of stars and rather than a collective team. But like we've said, they have improved on that team aspect over the last few months, and especially in the playoffs. And it feels like everything's clicking for Miami at the right time here. So, yeah, we'll
Yeah,
see how it goes.
yeah. Just there's been a lot of hype. This is Muller versus Messi. Well, it's not like you were saying. They looked at the last 10 games, and the team that Muller's played on has won 7 times, and the team that when he's played against Messi, they won 3 times.
Yeah, head to head.
Messi has lost three. Muller's won 7. Messi has only lost 3. Muller.
Hmm.
So that's not a story. That makes no difference because they both have different roles, like you're
Yeah.
saying.
And yeah, these are different clubs, different scenarios, and I
Yeah,
mean, Muller's been with Bayern Munich his whole life, and they've
yeah,
obviously found success, and he plays with the German national team, who is also largely successful. So it doesn't just come down to those individuals; it's always
yeah,
been the teams surrounding them.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, we got a huge game coming up Saturday. Like I said, 11:30 p.m. kickoff Pacific. Me and my grandpa will be watching the game in Vancouver at BC Place with some friends and family. So we're looking forward to that view party. Hopefully, we got a good turnout. And last call here. Do you want to throw out any predictions for the game?
I'm saying I'm predicting 2-1 for the Whitecap.
Yeah, I definitely see some goals in this game. I don't see it being a very cagey match. I think both teams are really going to go for it. There's no point in switching up your style of play now in the last game. I think they're just going to play how they've played all season. Yeah, I'm going to go 2-2 overtime, and Whitecaps get it done with a late goal in overtime.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll give you guys a full Whitecaps breakdown of their season following the MLS Cup Final next week.
All right.
All right. Next
Here.
till next time.
Bye now.